Hello everyone, now we will continue following the story of One Piece. Before we start, please everyone help click like. Let's start together. After the previous episode, Luffy arranged for all his friends to follow Nami, while he stayed to deal with a super ungrateful person named Don Krieg first. But before starting the work, Luffy negotiated with Zeph first. If he could take care of Don Krieg, they would be even, meaning he wouldn't have to work there to pay off his debt anymore. As for Don Krieg, he wanted to take over the Barity restaurant for two purposes. First, if they could take the restaurant and enter the Grand Line, no one would know they are pirates, so they could ambush their enemies. Second, Zeph, the owner of the restaurant, was once a pirate in the Grand Line for a long time, and he has a logbook of his own that talks about how to live in the Grand Line and might even have information related to the One Piece treasure. That's why Don Krieg wants that book. Then Don Krieg's minions rushed in, but they were all knocked into the water by Luffy. This time, Luffy was taking a big risk because he can't swim. If he fell into the water, he would surely lose. As for Sanji and the other chefs, they didn't just stand by and watch either. They fought against the pirate crew to protect their restaurant. At that moment, one of Don Krieg's crew members named Pearl, who was dressed very strangely, appeared. Pearl boasted to Sanji that since the beginning, no one had ever hit him hard enough to draw a single drop of blood. He had barely finished speaking when suddenly Luffy flew in from nowhere and hit him on the back of the head, causing his nose to bleed profusely. And as soon as he saw the blood, Pearl started acting like a madman. At that moment, Don Krieg and his other crew members shouted to calm Pearl down, telling him not to be rash. But Pearl didn't listen to them. He banged his shields together, pang, 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 creating a fire that burned everything and everyone around him. At that moment, Sanji wouldn't let Pearl do as he pleased, so he jumped in to teach him a lesson with a few kicks. Seeing this, Don Krieg threw his spiked mace towards Sanji, but Luffy jumped in to save him in time. At that moment, Don Krieg's mace flew and hit the ship's mast, causing it to break and fall, hitting Pearl on the head and knocking him unconscious. Then, suddenly, the despicable Jin snuck up and attacked Zeph from behind, taking him hostage. At that same time, Pearl regained consciousness and leaped to strike Sanji with a powerful blow. Actually, Sanji could have dodged, but he didn't dare to because he was afraid Jin would shoot and kill Zeph. After that, the story flashes back to Sanji's past. When he was young, before meeting Zeph, he was an apprentice cook on a passenger ship called the Orbit. He loved cooking very much and had a dream. He wanted to go to a place they called the All Blue. That place is a special area where sea creatures from all directions gather to live, and it is a source of abundant ingredients that he could use to make special dishes. During the time Sanji worked on the ship, he always saw the chefs eating leftover food from the guests, and he felt that it shouldn't be eaten and should be thrown away. But the chefs told him that some food is still good and shouldn't be wasted. At that moment, the people on the ship started to panic because a pirate ship had approached their vessel. That group of pirates was Zeph's crew, who had just returned from a journey in the Grand Line, and their goal at that time was to rob the passengers of their treasures. At that time, the brave young Sanji dared to confront the pirates. Even though Zeph kicked him flying, he still tried to bite Zeph's leg. Sanji said that as long as he hadn't found the place called the All Blue, he would absolutely not die. At that point, Zeph became very interested in Sanji. Coincidentally, at that moment, a huge storm appeared and battered their ships, causing Sanji to fall into the sea. Seeing this, Zeph quickly followed to save him, and just as Zeph jumped into the water, both their ships were completely destroyed by a giant wave. At that moment, one of Zeph's legs got caught in the wreckage of the ship, and in order to save Sanji, Zeph willingly sacrificed one of his legs. Later, after Sanji woke up, he saw Zeph sitting with his back to him, and next to him was a small bag of food, while next to Zeph was a bag that was bigger than his. At that time, Sanji argued, asking why Zeph gave him so little food, and Zeph told him that it was because big people need to eat more. After that, Zeph told Sanji to look to the other side and if he saw a ship, to tell him. At that time, they were stuck on a rock in the middle of the sea for many days, but they didn't see any ship pass by. And Sanji's food also ran out. Only then did Sanji understand and regret the food that he had thrown away. Many days passed, and Sanji had nothing to eat, becoming extremely thin. At that moment, he crawled over to see how Zeph was doing. What he saw was that Zeph was still alive, but he hadn't touched the bag next to him at all. It wasn't until Sanji took a knife to cut the bag open that he realized it wasn't food inside, but treasure. As for the food, Zeph had given it all to Sanji to eat. At that moment, Sanji realized that Zeph had sacrificed his leg to save his life, and he asked Zeph why he helped him. Zeph replied that it was because Sanji also had the dream of finding the All Blue, just like him, and he also knew that the All Blue was in the Grand Line. Later, when Zeph was extremely weak and about to die, he told Sanji that his final wish was to open a restaurant in the middle of the sea. At that time, they were very lucky that a ship passed by and saved them, allowing them to live until today. Returning to the present, Sanji forced himself to stand up to continue the fight. At that moment, Don Krieg ordered Jin to shoot and kill Zeph, but when it came down to it, Jin didn't shoot because he still remembered his kindness more than Don Krieg's. The next event, Pearl rushed to attack them, but he was struck back by Jin, his own crewmate. Jin did this because he wanted to negotiate a peaceful solution with Sanji, as he didn't want to kill him either. But the negotiation failed because no matter what, Sanji had to protect F's restaurant. So, they had nothing more to say to each other and entered a fighting stage. The fight between the two of them at that time seemed evenly matched, back and forth. But because Sanji was already injured from his previous fight with Pearl, he ended up losing to Jin. At that moment, Jin had the chance to kill Sanji, but he couldn't bring himself to do it because Sanji had once shown him kindness. Seeing this, Don Krieg was furious and declared that Jin was no longer part of his crew, and he prepared to use a poison gas weapon to kill everyone there except for his crew who had protective gas masks with them. Jin also had a poison gas mask, but Don Krieg wouldn't let him use it because he was no longer a crew member, and at that moment, Jin willingly accepted the punishment and threw the mask into the water. Then, as Don Krieg started to fire the poison gas shells, Luffy stretched out his arms to snatch 2 masks from Don Krieg's men and threw them to Jin and Sanji. And when he wanted to go back and grab another mask for himself, Don Krieg's crew had already died into the water, leaving Luffy with no idea where to run. But as Don Krieg fired the poison shell, someone threw a mask to him, helping him escape the poison gas. After that, when the poison gas cleared, Luffy realized that the person who threw the mask to him was Jin. Jin willingly chose not to wear a mask to save Luffy, causing him to be poisoned and unable to breathe. At that moment, Zeph told them to take Jin to a high place to get more oxygen, hoping to save his life. As for Luffy, he was furious with Don Krieg and rushed in to deal with him. At that time, Don Krieg tried to use his sharp-tipped weapon to hold him off, as well as a shield with blades all around it for protection, but Luffy was too strong and managed to defeat him. After being hit once, Don Krieg lay unconscious for a long time, but he was actually pretending. When Luffy was off his guard, he got back up and used his strongest weapon, the explosive spear, to attack Luffy. The spear was very powerful, it would explode on impact. But when it hit Luffy, it exploded too, though it couldn't kill him. But at that moment, Luffy was truly amazing and managed to destroy Don Krieg's special spear as well. After that, it was Luffy's turn to hit Don Krieg back. Luffy then used his Dum Dum Bazooka twice to finally break Don Krieg's armor. And even without his armor, Don Krieg was not out of tricks yet. He fired a steel net to catch Luffy, intending to pull him into the sea. To counter this, Luffy used his Gum Gum Giant Hammer move, spinning Don Krieg's head and slamming it to the ground. After dealing with Don Krieg, Luffy also fell into the water, caught in the net. But he was fine because Sanji dived down to save him in time. When Sanji brought Luffy back to the deck, he was terrified, thinking Luffy had died, but he hadn't. In fact, Luffy was just sleeping. You annoying brat. I was so worried. In the end, everything was over, and Jin, who wasn't dead, came to carry Don Krieg back. But before leaving, Jin told Sanji that they would meet again in the Grand Line. Later, when Luffy woke up, he didn't forget about inviting Sanji to join his crew. At that time, Sanji wanted to go with Luffy, but he was still worried about Zeph and the Berry restaurant. As for Zeph, seeing Sanji happy with Luffy, he was very pleased and told Sanji to go with Luffy to fulfill his dream. For this episode, I'll stop here. Thank you all for watching this story with me. If you think this story is good or not, please help comment and let me know. Thank you once again, and I wish you all good health and a prosperous future.